like so much of like the modern conversation is like, you got to do it yourself. You got to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps and da. But you're like, that doesn't feel true. I keep trying, but I keep failing. It doesn't feel like I am everything that I need. Well, there's this whole other path called religion. Helps a lot of people and has for a really long time. Maybe check it out. You know, you can't help but wonder, right? No conspiracy needed. There's no conspiracy needed. You can just look out objectively with your own two eyeballs and be like, wow, that's really weird. That's really weird that everything, music, film, art, there's a new Jack Black movie coming out where he's like the devil trying to steal this kid's soul, and it's a Christmas movie. Like, there's so much like demonic influence on everything around us all the time. And there's something about watching these musicians just like literally doing like satanic rituals on stage that's like not cool. You know, it's weird to me. It's bizarre to me. I, for a long time, was a student of comparative religion. I looked at all religions. I looked at apologetics, which is basically the debating of religious scriptures, right? It has nothing to do. Apologetics doesn't have really anything to do with what you believe. It has to do with what you can prove with scripture. So you'll see apologetics that's like, you know, the Bible versus the Quran, or, you know, that you'll literally try to match scripture against scripture and try to figure out some type of theological truths. And it's fun. It's a fun thing to watch people of different faiths not be able to just use the line of, this is just what I believe, to get out of a debate. They actually have to cite scripture, they have to cite scholars, they have to know histrionics. When I look out into the world, there's so many people that like deny the idea of religion. They hate religion. When I talk to someone that's like, you know, really anti-religion, I say, why are you anti-religion? And they say, oh, religion is, you know, what's caused all the world's wars. And that's like untrue according to the most secular data we have. Like, you can literally look up in like the Encyclopedia Britannica what percentage of the world's wars has been caused by religion, and it's a very small amount. It's like, no, dude, religion actually hasn't caused all the world's wars. Like, it's no, and that's how it goes down the line. You know, well, we really don't know what those books say. They've been mistranslated. It's like, we know exactly what they say. We have the translations, and that's literally what apologetics is people using the Greek and the Arabic and the Hebrew, the original translations, and they're looking at New World Translation and the King James and different types of books now, and they're saying, well, this word's a mistranslation, so you have to look at it this way, and they're giving context to everything through the proper translations. And so it's like, well, that argument's out the window. And it's like, well, no one really even knows if these like figures lived. And that's a bizarre argument. Because it's like, do you believe that Alexander the Great lived? Because we have like 100 times more data that the fact that like Jesus lived than we do Alexander the Great. We have like actual eyewitness testimony that Jesus lived, was born, died on the cross, right? From people that like knew him, or at least were disciples of people that knew him. So like, you're talking about like, you know, secondhand knowledge. Whereas like a lot of historical figures, they're not written about until hundreds of years after they've died. There's, you know, it's like, we're very, so that's I guess my whole gripe about the whole thing, like, is kind of, everybody's willing to swallow secularism, this idea of, you know, speaking from a place of scientific authority and academic authority, and just swallow it hook, line, and sinker and say, yeah, Alexander the Great, of course, you know, like these historical figures, of course, right? Nobody doesn't think that Genghis Khan didn't live, right? And it's like, dude, the historical records that we have to justify the existence of some of these religious figures are so much more reliable than the information that we have. But that would take someone actually looking into it. So what am I going on about? What am I talking about here? I'm talking about how you can prove a thing by proving the opposite thing. There's no proof in God, so therefore let's not believe in God, right? That's the argument. Okay, but what about the fact that every system of power at the top of the hierarchy that exists in society is flaunting their belief, at the very least, their passionate ideals about the devil? It's, for me, it's just, it's blatantly obvious. It's I'm not super religious, right? Obviously, I'm not super religious. I'm not. I'm on a religious journey. I'm trying to become worthy of being a person that is able to say that they are religious. I don't think I'm quite there yet. I think I'm on a journey, and I think that the day that I am able to say, like, I am really religious, I will have earned it. I think I'm trying to get there. But when I look out into the world and I see like all these influences of evil, bro, it's just evil. It's just evil. Like, it's like, how else do you explain someone getting on a train for no reason and just like stabbing a bunch of people? It's like, that's evil, right? And it's like, all of this to me, from an outsider, as someone that tries to eliminate my own biases, it just looks like evil in the world. It just looks like human beings perpetrating evil acts in the world at a rate that is exponential. It looks like people are progressively becoming more and more unhinged. And the Bible talks about that. The Bible talks about that. Bible talks about how in the end days, like, husband will turn on wife, neighbor will turn on neighbor. The devil's influence, that is, the devil is basically the king of this world that we are currently in. It is his season to reign over it. And that influence of evil will fester to a boiling point. And it's kind of hard not to look out in the world and see that right now. I heard the other day there's term, and the term was called multiple reality syndrome. And I thought that was really interesting because it feels like right now, more than ever. And the argument is too, like, okay, well, every generation thinks they're living in the end times. Every generation feels like evil is swelling to a point of no return. Every generation feels like that. Correct, yes. But what's different now, what makes now really different, is we are eliminating core universal concepts from our vocabulary, right? We are removing the common ground from what we believe. A man can be a woman. Maybe the world's flat. Maybe it's round. It's like, dude, we can't even agree on some of the most fundamental concepts to actually have a conversation. And what happens is it becomes not even worth having the conversation, right? It becomes to go in and to try to, like, for lack of a better term, like minister, to try to like have a conversation with someone. There has to be some inkling. There has to be some iota that you can change this person's mind. If you just put the right words in the right order, you can change this person's mind. And that's the basis of, scholarly debate, Try to win hearts, try to win minds. At least those of the people in the audience, maybe not those that are on stage. It's a presentation of the facts in the best way possible. But when we disagree on just like such fundamental things, it becomes not even worth having the conversation, and that is frightening. Because what happens when it's not worth having the conversation anymore about what's true, what's good, what's moral, right? When we're more connected than ever, we're able to have that conversation easier than ever, right? It's wild. What's also wild is like the idea of like the complete denial of religion to me seems weird. It seems like a very weird thing, right? If you take someone that just follows step by step secular logic in every facet of their lives, right? So having kids, well, the world's overpopulated, there's not enough resources. People should be having less kids. That's a secular idea of kids. Okay, well, what about marriage? Okay, well, marriage is actually, historically, it used to make women the property of men, and it was this, you had to give a dowry, and it was this exchange of property, and it's archaic, and it just shouldn't be a thing anymore. So marriage is out the window too. Okay, what about like private property and like owning a house? Okay, well, that's actually kind of selfish to own a house because by you owning that house, blah, blah, blah. Okay, well, what about religion? Okay, well, religion is, this thing that's manipulation of the masses and blah, blah. You go down that secular path, it looks like a religion. Like it asks you to worship, these things that are like, they don't seem very good for the individual. They seem very, like, if actually at every point of like the secular logic seems very good for the people on top and not very good for the people on bottom, right? So that to me says like something doesn't smell right. Something doesn't smell right if you follow that secular logic all the way through, that 90% of people, 99% of people are getting the shaft, and then the top 1% are the ones that get to consolidate all the wealth and power. That's not good. We shouldn't subscribe or prescribe to any plan that has that type of framework, right? But it's also this idea, right, that especially in Western culture, we're so safe. We have so much safety and security now that like the idea of like denying God or like denying religion or living in a way that's like too blaspheme it's such a luxury. Right? It's such a luxury. There's a reason why that scene in a movie that's been done a million times of ex-person has no affiliation with religion, something super bad, tragic, looms overhead, and they turn to God and they pray harder than they ever have because that's the only way to like that's the only place to turn, right? People find religion and find God that have brushed up against enough experiences to understand how powerless they are against the forces of the universe that can so easily crash them against the rocks of life. People who have had a very easy life, relatively speaking, right? Why would they ever need religion? Why would they ever need a spouse or a partner? They got it all figured out. They got it all figured out, right? Not the thousands of years of history that came before them. Not the scholars of old, not all these enriching texts that have been written, not just on religion, but on life and poetry and wisdom and philosophy, right? No. If we're going to read philosophy, we need to read about nihilism, where everything is meaningless. It all just seems not good. That's what I mean though. It's like, you have to live in such a cozy little bubble to never find yourself in a moment where you just get down on a knee and pray. Human beings are like made to worship. Like all of our functions in our brain and in our mind and our heart and our soul like are made to worship. Not necessarily God, but something. And so when we move from a society that become lovers of history and lovers of truth and seekers of truth, right? And we become a little less courageous to be able to speak truth to power, or we become a little less good at thinking critically about things, or when we have revisionist histories where we get all of our information from Google, which is a totally like impossible place to learn anything of substance. And, people don't have the time to go to a library and like learn things or to sit down with with experts. We're going to get all our news from YouTube, but even that is like on real shaky ground because the algorithm is just going to provide you what people are clicking on. And when people have questions, we saw it in 2020. There was a big smear against quote unquote misinformation or disinformation. And the powers that be decided what was truth and what was not. And you were shown what they wanted you to see, and everything else got removed or suppressed. It's like that's not a freely flowing place of information and public debate and discourse. We can't have that, right? We can't have that. That's literally how history gets erased. That's how ideals get erased. What you're saying to people when you do this type of thing is that you cannot think for yourself. And this is once again what I mean by like the secular power structure kind of putting everybody at the bottom in their place. This is why censorship is bad. Just believe that premise for a minute. Just believe it for a second. If human beings are made to worship, right? Just assume that that's true. What happens when we choose to deny religion, to deny God? What fills that vacuum? It's the me monster. It's the world of me and my wants and my needs. And I'm not going to have kids, so I can do what I want to do. And to do what I want to do, I need lots and lots of money. And I need lots and lots of time. It becomes this very selfish way of living. It's useless. It's pretty useless. And that's a pretty hot take. I know that. I know that makes me sound like a total dickhead, right? I'm not saying everybody should have kids, right? I want to clarify. If you don't want to have kids, don't have kids, because the last thing that the world needs in it is more fucked up kids from parents that are garbage. There's enough of that, right? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, where are we getting our fulfillment from? Where are we getting our usefulness from? Our utility in society to fucking do drop shipping on Amazon, dude? That's not... What? Where are we getting our sense of community from? Doesn't even exist anymore. So you can't look out into the world and see all these social structures decaying, whatever, right? You can't look out and see like people are losing their minds at a rate in which we cannot even agree on what the shape of the earth is anymore. People are denying God. People are lonely. People are spending all their time watching porn and playing video games and ingesting media that we've already established at the beginning of this video has a lot of demonic influence, right? It is what I mean by that is it's not there to make you feel good and whole, right? How many slasher films can you watch? How many horror films can you watch about the devil and possession and demons and blah, 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 before it's like, bro, you're putting that shit in your mind and it's filling it up and it's leaving no place for wholesomeness and goodness and truth, right? It's just something that really bothers me. All of this bothers me. It bothers me that we look at academia and we look at these knowers of things, these knowledge experts, and we're pretending like they know some shit. They don't know a fucking thing. They don't know anything more than anybody else. Like the definition of an expert is you know a lot about a very small sliver of something, right? But that's the thing, is archaeology, right, which is digging shit up, is different than anthropology, the shit that got dug up, and geology. Where did it get dug up? How deep did it get dug up? Right? So it's that, you know what it's kind of like? It's kind of like when you have a problem, when you have a medical problem, right? Let's say you have a medical problem. You go to a dermatologist, they're going to tell you it's a skin problem. You go to an allergist, they're going to tell you it's an allergy problem. You go to a cardiologist, they're going to tell you it's a heart problem. It's like that's kind of how experts work, is that they've made it over this Dunning-Kruger effect to where they feel so confident diagnosing every problem as a problem in their field, because it's like this self-deception. Well, it must be this because I said so and I know so much about this. And that's what really bothers me about secularism. At least you got it. Even the most hardcore atheist has to admit this, which is at least religion leaves room for not knowing some shit. The Bible's pretty clear on lean not on your own understanding. Things are crazy. There's a lot of stuff that's happening. It's really all hard to understand. At the end of the day, lean not on your own understanding, right? Because in all of the wisdom of that religious text, what it's really saying is there's a lot of problems, but not all the problems are, number one, there for you to have to understand. And two, they just don't have to be your problems, right? And that's so much of what I think makes people feel like they're in this super dark place that they can't get out of is they number one, they want to deny religion off the bat for so many reasons, which is funny because any one of those reasons with like 10 minutes of like looking into can be like, I don't know about debunked, but quite easily debated, right? No matter what lens you want to go through. You want to go through a historical lens? Okay. You want to go through a comparative religion lens? Okay. So whatever your hangups are on the idea of like giving your life and your heart over to God, to religion. Okay, well, look into it a little bit, dude. Don't just like make a choice from a place of ignorance. That's no way to live life, period. Right? Especially like if you're unhappy, dude. If you're unhappy and you're like, man, I just can't get myself out of this rut. Like so much of like the modern conversation is like, you got to do it yourself. You got to pull yourself out by your own bootstraps and da. It's like you do know there's this whole other way, right? There's this whole other way of transformation over transaction. Transformation where you can give yourself over to God and you can feel transformed and you can feel a little bit lighter, right? I think that's the thing that for all of the secularist or atheist debates versus religion, the one thing that gets really lost in apologetics is exactly what that relationship looks like. I'm arguing from a place of Christianity, right? So I will use that as an example right here and now. But when you have a relationship with God, when you have a relationship with Christ, it is a personal thing. Like the words are coming out of your mouth that you are saying to this person, and you feel like they are listening, and that feels tremendous. And you're like, yeah, but that's just a feeling. Okay, well, you saying that, right, literally discounts 2,000 years of people doing it. You in your 20s don't have it all figured the fuck out. You don't get to discount 2,000 years of history and study of people doing that and feeling better. Just to say, well, it's a feeling, therefore I'm not going to do it because I know it's not true. Well, if you don't do it, if you don't feel it, then how do you know it's not true? I bet you say the same thing about love. It's all connected. It's all connected. And people now have to, figure it all out for themselves because there's so many people talking so loudly on the topic of philosophy or religion or feeling better or your grind culture, toxic positivity, all these things that like I want to talk about. I look at it through the perspective of like, man, talk about misinformation and disinformation. How many of these things are actually seeking to make you feel better? Like at the end of the day, if you listen to this information that was actionable and you did the thing, how many of those things long term are going to make you feel good? Okay, well, grind culture. How long is making 10K a month going to make you feel better? I know the exact answer. 1 month. 1 month it'll make you feel good. And then the next month, you'll need to make 12. And then the next month, you're going to be wondering how to get to 15 or why not 20. You'll say, why not 6 figures a month? And it becomes this endless pursuit of the idolatrous dollar. That's most secular paths, right? And I think the irony of our society is that, you know what? At the end, on our deathbed, when we're old and gray and all alone, and we're not surrounded by any grandkids, And we're not surrounded by anyone that's there to love us, that we called a partner, that knew our most deepest intimacies and flaws and accepted us anyway. When we're all alone in that retirement home, but we got a good old bank account and no one to give it to, no legacy, then we figure it out. Then we figure, oh, I think I fucked up. Like, you know, it's like, why can't you just figure that out now? Why can't you just figure that out now and say, maybe I don't have all the answers. And if I don't have all the answers, where do I find the answers? And then realize there's this whole other avenue. You don't have to find all your answers in a world that keeps putting demonic music videos and telling you that you are the answer. Just look inside. You're everything that you need. But you're like, that doesn't feel true. I keep trying, but I keep failing. It doesn't feel like I am everything that I need. Well, there's this whole other path called religion. It helps a lot of people and has for a really long time. Maybe check it out. I'm a big fan of Sam Shimon, who does apologetics, and watching his debates are just fun. They're not really like, walk with Jesus type moments. They're more like professional wrestling, watching people that are like religious scholars like debate and kind of just like smash each other. That's fun, that's good. It doesn't always have to be this. It doesn't always, you going on a journey to find religion is whatever the hell you want it to be, right? It doesn't have to be what you, I feel like that's true too, is like people have a molded idea in their head of what that journey looks like, and it makes them cringe. They're like, I would love if I had everything I need to be a better person inside of me. I don't want to go outside of me to do that. I don't like the idea of like worshiping, because that like makes me feel less than. Like, why do I need to worship anything, right? Like, but these are like a lot of the objections that people have for religion, or like, but so much is untrue of this book, or why does it say that thing, right? And I'm telling you, look into it. Look into all of it, right? There are explanations for all of it, right? We're so willing to accept the secular explanations of everything. But when it comes to religious explanations from religious scholars, from religious experts, from historians that are agnostic and atheists, right? Well, it's probably wrong anyway, so I'm not going to look into it. Okay. Okay, well, if you reach a dead end where you don't feel very good with the way things are going, and you keep trying and you keep failing, and you're watching all these videos telling you that you should do this to be happy or that to be happy, maybe you should look into the oldest, most historical institutions that we have that were literally created for that purpose, to make people feel better, to make people feel good, to transform them into their best selves. It's called religion. It's out there. Take a look. Okay. I just wanted to talk about that today. I haven't talked about that on camera before, but I wanted to talk about it today. I think it's important. I heard about that fucking Jack Black Christmas Satan movie, and I was like, God damn, it's everywhere. What is happening? Like, dude, I gotta talk about this. Anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for being here. I'll see you on the next one. I appreciate you. Please leave me a comment down below. I love talking to you guys, and I'll talk to you on the next one. Peace.